Hello, everyone, and welcome to the premiere episode of the Guitar Show podcast presented by Front Row Music. I am your host, Christian Roebling, and if you stick with us, I promise to bring you some of the greatest guitar players from all genres with historic interviews and rare performances. We have nearly 70 episodes to present to you. The guitar player you heard in the opening is none other than the legend Les Paul. Les was our first guest on the Guitar Show series back in 1984 when we interviewed him at Fat Tuesdays in New York City, where he played every Monday night. Now, you couldn't ask for a better first guest than Les Paul. Les appeared on the Guitar Show twice, here in 1984 and again in 1985 when we got Jimmy Page together with Les Paul at Les's house in Mahwah, New Jersey, shortly after Led Zeppelin played Live Aid in Philadelphia. Now, that's one episode you don't want to miss of these two legends together. More on that later. In the meantime, let's go back to Fat Tuesdays in New York City with Les Paul, who began playing guitar in 1928.
I guess you're right about 1928.
1928.
That wasn't the first instrument, but it was my first guitar, and I got that from Sears and Roebuck.
Okay. And did you ever have any formal training?
The only formal training I had was an elderly man that lived down the street from me that had a classical guitar. And he was the only one in my town of Waukesha that could play, and he played a song, and it had one chord in it that I didn't know. And that was my training, was to learn that chord, which I finally got from him. It was a D chord.
It was a D chord.
Yeah. And after I found it, he got so mad that I found his chord that he burned his guitar. But I did learn the third. He says, "That's my chord and you can't have it."
Can't have it.
And so he burned the guitar, and that destroyed that as far as he was concerned.
What I'd like to do here is to give you an overall view of what to expect in the upcoming podcasts, after which each podcast will be dedicated to one guitar player. We will feature guitar greats from all of the musical genres: blues, jazz, classical, and some guitar players that are hard to categorize. And of course, we will feature guitar players from the world of rock. You will hear from Jimmy Page, Eddie Van Halen, Paul Gilbert, the Twisted Sisters Eddie Ojeda, and J.J. French, Steve Stevens, and others. So let's get started with a player that knows a thing or two about Les Paul guitars. Ladies and gentlemen, Zakk Wylde.
No, the reason why I like Les Paul is because it's just, I think it was pretty much like one of the first guitars. It was the first good guitar I got. I saved up. I had, like crappy guitars until, and when I was working at a gas station at a supermarket, I'd save all my money, all my paychecks. Because, I'm still living at home, so, my folks were just like, all right, we'll save your money up for whatever you wanted to get, I saved up all my dough. I saved up like, what, $800 or something like that. Or my mother and father, threw in $100 or something like that, $200, and helped me to get the guitar. So I remember I came home one day, I saved all my money up for this Les Paul, and I came home and they went out and got it at the music store. They put the extra $200 down on it or something. Came back and I had the guitar, they had it on the kitchen table, with knives in it, and but I was just like, so ever since I had that one, I just went out collecting them, I got to save every penny I could get, man.
Zakk is a monster guitar player and an incredible showman with chops for days. So buckle up your seatbelts and strap yourself in, and let's give a listen to Zakk Wylde and hear what he does with his Les Paul guitar. Here we have another monster guitar player. Let's give a listen to longtime Ibanez endorser Paul Gilbert. Another great rock guitar player to appear on the Guitar Show was longtime Billy Idol guitarist Steve Stevens. But here we have him playing an acoustic guitar. Powerful all the same. We all know how powerful rock guitar playing can be, and it's certainly the case with John Petrucci from Dream Theater. It can also be very tasteful. Let's give a listen to John Petrucci. Those were just a few of the rock guitarists that we featured on the Guitar Show. Future guests will include Vinnie Moore, Rick Derringer, Scotty Moore from Elvis Presley, the Twisted Sisters, Eddie Ojeda and J.J. French, Steve Howe from Yes, Reeves Gabrels from David Bowie, and more. For a list of guitar players featured here and more information, visit our website at frontrowmusic.com. Now, let's head over to the blues. We have some incredible blues players to present to you. Let's start with the great Hubert Sumlin, who was Howlin' Wolf's guitar player. He influenced the likes of Jimi Hendrix, Jeff Beck, Keith Richards, Jimmy Page, and others. Not only was he an incredibly influential blues player, he was also one of the nicest guys you would ever meet.
The first music I heard was by Charlie Patton, these old guys, and I never got a chance to see these guys. Help them, unfortunately, I didn't. But what made me really get into the business was them. And then I heard Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf and all this stuff. So, hey, I said, no, this is it.
One of the most electrifying blues performances on the Guitar Show was by John Hammond. He blew everyone away in the studio with his rendition of Drop Down Mama. Ladies and gentlemen, John Hammond. To hear Johnny Clyde Copeland in this setting was a real treat. Here he is alone in the studio playing an Ovation guitar and singing Flying High. If you ever get the chance to listen to his full-blown version on Jishan Records, it's awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Clyde Copeland. Those are just a few of the blues guitar players that we are featuring on the podcast. For a full list of players and more information, go to our website at frontrowmusic.com. Now it's time for the jazz greats that appeared on the Guitar Show, and we're starting with the legend, Joe Pass.
You chose the guitar as a means of expression. What is it that drew you to the guitar, and
Well, see,
or it chose you? Who chose who?
well, no, see, that's a question that, there's no answer for that question. I mean, I have no idea why I asked for a guitar. I mean, there's a story that I say that when I was 9, I asked what I wanted for my birthday, and I think somebody said I asked for a guitar. So maybe I did, I don't remember. I remember going to movies and seeing westerns with Gene Autry and a guitar and a horse and a white horse, and maybe I wanted a horse, I don't know. But anyway.
Tal Farlow appeared on the Guitar Show twice, in 1984 in episode number 5, and again in 1990 in episode 44. Tal was self-taught and started playing guitar at the age of 22. Tal was a true legend on the guitar. He made it look so easy. Ladies and gentlemen, Tal Farlow. Herb Ellis, man could he swing. What a pleasure it was to have him on our series. His status as a guitar great is unquestionable. He joined the Oscar Peterson Trio in 1953, and from 1957 to 1960 he toured with Ella Fitzgerald. Now it doesn't get much better than that. Here we bring you Herb Ellis. Our next guest is Emily Remler. In the jazz guitar world dominated by men, she held her own and then some. One of her main influences was Herb Ellis. Here we present to you Emily Remler, after which she'll play a bit of a song that she wrote called Blues for Herb. One of your first big breaks was your connection with Herb Ellis.
Right.
And why don't you tell the guys out there and the ladies out there how you came about and your chutzpah in trying to get that together.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. Perseverance, definitely. And I was 18 or 19, and Herb came to town with Barney playing at a club, and I was playing at the Blue Room with a big band. And I basically went up to Herb and asked for a lesson. And then also I wanted him to fix my guitar, which was a Herb Ellis Aria model. I was really nervy. But anyway, we got together and played all day. It was great. And he referred me to Carl Jefferson of Concord to hire me for the Concord Jazz Festival. And then I started a relationship with them, and then I was signed at like 22, with Concord.
Up next is the incredible Bill Frisell. His virtuosity on the guitar has no boundary. Nobody plays guitar like Bill Frisell. He has played in multiple configurations, but here we are privileged to have him all by himself in the studio. This was recorded around 1989 at the time of his record release called Remler. Here he is playing the title track. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Frisell. There was only one Pat Martino, and what a life he led. A true virtuoso, Pat began playing professionally at the age of 15 when he set out for Harlem, determined to meet his jazz idols. Now, can you imagine that? I first met Pat at his house in South Philly through a friend, Tal Farlow. This was when Pat was in the hibernation period and wasn't playing at the time. We knocked on the door, and his dad, Mickey, answered, and I said, "Can Pat come out and play?" We went up to his room, and there was Pat walking around in a Japanese kimono. It was like meeting the Wizard of Oz. Here I bring you one of the best there ever was, Pat Martino.
The guitar is like a fork. The music is the food. It nourishes whosoever uses it, chooses to use it.
One of the guitar players that I was dying to have on the guitar show was Birelli Lagrene. Not only were we thrilled to finally be able to have him appear on the show, there was a knock on the studio door, and who shows up unexpectedly but Larry Coryell, guitar in hand. It doesn't get much better than this. Give a listen to Birelli with Larry Coryell. Enjoy. So there you have just some of the jazz players that we will feature on our upcoming podcasts. In the future, we hope to bring you new and exciting jazz players as well. Go to frontrowmusic.com to see a complete list of players and subscribe to our channel. It doesn't cost anything. And now we're going to switch gears to guitar players that you really can't put in a box. The first will be Michael Hedges. Michael stretched the boundaries of the guitar to another place altogether with his many altered tunings and certainly an unconventional approach to the guitar. If anyone lived in the moment, it was Michael. I am honored to bring you Michael Hedges.
You played a lot of musical instruments in the beginning, the cello, the piano, the clarinet. What is it about the instrument, the guitar, that allows you to do things composition-wise and as a musician? And why did you get attracted to it?
Well, I don't think initially it was anything technical that would draw me to the instrument. It was more of a social thing, because when I first heard Elvis Presley sing "Follow That Dream," you gotta follow that dream wherever that dream may lead. Still, I got that feeling in me.
Our next guest also has quite a unique approach to the guitar. He has created a distinctive sound altogether with his creative use of his banjo tuning pegs on his Ovation guitar. Joe Satriani has been quoted as saying he was simply the best acoustic guitar player he's ever heard. Give a listen to Adrian Legg. Danny Gatton was without a doubt a guitar virtuoso. There wasn't a style that he didn't master. Some players would be happy to master one style. Danny could play the blues, rockabilly, jazz, and country like no one else. And once again, the profound influence of Les Paul is vividly felt in this short interview clip with Danny. I had the pleasure of having Danny as a guest twice. Here in 1989 in the studio with John Previty on bass, and in 1991 when we recorded him live at the Ritz in New York City. Besides being a guitar virtuoso, Danny was quite the showman. In this track you're about to hear, Danny plays the guitar with a Heineken bottle as a slide. If there was a Mount Rushmore for guitar players, Danny would be there. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Danny Gatton.
You remember your first guitar influences and how old you were and what you
Les
listened
Paul.
to? Yeah.
Probably when I was 6 or so, we would visit an aunt and uncle of mine, and they had quite a collection of Les Paul 45s. Plus, in those days, the record players would play down to 33 and 16.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I remember the 16.
So I'd put Little Rock Getaway on, and I instinctively knew that that was sped up. Didn't know if it was 1 or 2 times, but it was definitely sped up. And just absolutely fell in love with his playing and the sparkly tone and the whole thing.
We began this podcast with Les Paul, and we will end with Les Paul. Without a doubt, one of the most memorable guitar shows was when we got Jimmy Page to Les Paul's house in Mahwah, New Jersey, for an incredible meeting of not only these two great guitar legends, but they were also great friends. Jimmy came to Les's house right after Led Zeppelin reunited at Live Aid in Philadelphia in 1985. He brought along all his guitars that he played at Live Aid. The 1959 Les Paul Sunburst that he was acquired from Joe Walsh, his Fender Telecaster B-Bender that could be heard on songs like All of My Love, and of course, his Gibson double neck guitar. You don't want to miss this episode, so stay tuned. It doesn't get much better than this.
Well, ask me a question, Mr. Christian.
Jimmy, since I asked Les some of the new guitar players, do you listen to a lot of guitar players and new ones that come up, and anybody really impress you that's come out of the woodwork, so to speak?
Not like Django Reinhardt, no.
Not like nobody will come around like Django Reinhardt.
No, not like Django Reinhardt.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, what do you think of the music and the guitar players today?
Well, for instance,
being one of them.
Well, for instance, like Eddie Van Halen's got an amazing, I know, right. I mean, Eddie Van Halen's got an amazing technique, all this sort of hammering on and everything. I mean, I can't do that, but, you know, at least they're stretching the horizons and everything, you know, which is great, fantastic.
My daughter lives in Monrovia, and she'd always tell me about this kid next door that was playing guitar. And they would be rehearsing. I'd go see my daughter, and I'd hear them playing next door. And I said, what's the name of the group? And she said, well, Eddie Van Halen chased my daughter around. You know? I have to talk to my daughter. She should have nailed that cat.
So there you have it. It's just a taste of what we have to offer in our future podcast. The subsequent podcasts will feature one guitar player per episode, and the next podcast will be the legend Les Paul. We have an amazing vintage library of nearly 70 episodes of some of the greatest guitar players in the world from all musical genres, so stick with us. We also will be doing new episodes with some of the young players out there today, as well as segments with the guitar and amp manufacturers. Do subscribe to our channel, it doesn't cost anything, and follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Vimeo. And for more information, go to frontrowmusic.com. There you will find that 50 of these episodes are available in a video format, so check it out, frontrowmusic.com. And I thank you for listening.